Hey everyone, TheGermaniac back again, bringing you another video. Today we have a pretty interesting one. It is pro-Palestine protesters say they were shunned at the German anti-fascist march. Now, what could this mean? I mean, are they supposed to be, the anti-fascists are supposed to be for equality, equality, equity, diversity, all that kind of stuff? But yet they were shunned at the German anti-fascist march. Isn't that curious? So let's get into it. This article is by Al Jazeera. Pro-Palestine supporters try to join a recent march against the far right, but they say they were discriminated and pushed around. Which is funny because this term of remigration that the current parties have been really pushing, they're saying, well, it's attacking these kinds of groups. It's attacking the people who have come over asylum seeking, like the Palestinians, and yet they aren't welcome at the marches, or they're getting what they deem as discriminated against. So it's a very interesting one. Let's get into it. Berlin, Germany, where Yasmin Akar heard that senior far-right politicians were holding meetings to discuss plans for mass deportations. She felt worried, particularly as someone with Kurdish-Turkish roots. She decided to join street protests against the AfD on January 21st, which more than 100,000 Germans ultimately attended. It was very important for me personally to be there, as people with migration backgrounds in Germany were subject to the most racist attacks, especially from people who vote for the AfD, Akar told Al Jazeera. She and her friends took banners with slogans decrying fascists and the hard right. They also wanted to raise their Palestinian flags, seeing the moment as an opportunity to show their solidarity with Gaza amid Israel's brutal onslaught, and given the AfD's stance on Palestine. So the anti-fascists, who, especially in Germany, you would assume have some tendency, because when they talk about the anti-fascist right, they try and group it together with, well, who are the fascists in Germany? Well, they're the Nazis. And who don't the Nazis like? Well, it's the Jews. But wait, the far right, which is the AfD, likes Israel? What's going on there? How does that make sense? Shouldn't they be with the Palestinians to a degree, or just remain silent on the issue? So anyway, we'll get into it. But I felt a bit nervous, to be honest, knowing that the majority of people there would be white Germans. Even though they seem to be against racism, fascism, and the right-wing wave in Germany, they're still also against us, she said. And what does that mean? What does she mean they're also against us? So obviously there's a kind of group which within the anti-fascist movement, which would also, funnily enough, probably be pro-Israel. So they would be, and well, obviously because of Germans' history, they would be pro-Israel, pro-Jewish, but as we know, if you're pro-Israel, then you're not pro-Palestinian, so then this kind of hypocrisy starts playing out. The AfD is notoriously hostile towards people with refugee and migrant backgrounds. It also has an aggressive stance on Palestine. The far-right force has previously shown strong support for Israel, despite Jewish groups describing it as anti-Semitic, and had called for cuts in aid and financial support to Palestinians in October, long before several Western nations pulled funding to the UNRWA. At the time of publishing, AfD officials had not responded to Al Jazeera's request for comment. Soon after a car arrived at the protest, she felt unwelcomed. As we were making our way to the demonstration, unrolling our flags, immediately we could see the looks. We could literally feel the looks, the dirty looks, and it didn't take long until we got attacked, she said. Some protesters told them to lower their Palestine flags, saying they did not fit in with the demands of the demonstration. Others were physical. Akar said that she and her friends were pushed and told, "Go away, go to your demos, you don't belong here." When she sought help from a woman police officer, she was told that pushing is not considered a criminal offense. Honestly, it was sad, Akar said. In my head, I had constantly had thought, what if they surround us and start beating us? With so many people at the anti-far-right protest, the mobile phone network was down. Akar and her friends got separated from the rest of the pro-Palestinian group of about 150 people. Once reunited, police circled them and told them to lower their voices. We came because we wanted to protest against the AfD's racist politics and the prevailing racism in Germany in general. Therefore, we assumed we would have the same rights when arriving, and, what was I? Here we go. When arriving and during the march until we leave, said George Ismail, a pro-Palestinian activist who was also at the demonstration. At one point, police prevented the group from joining the main protest route, allegedly cornering them for about 90 minutes. Frustrated and unable to move, the group registered a separate protest with police. At a certain point, we were actually blocked from moving in any direction. This is why we were forced to announce and register a separate demonstration. This has never been our intention. The police know this, said Ismail, who is a PhD student. A spokesperson of the Berlin police force told Al Jazeera that a Stop the War in Gaza march was reported to them on Jan 21. Before the confirmation of the march route by the police leadership, participants attempted to move towards Friedrichstraße. This was initially prevented only to be allowed shortly thereafter, following approval from the police leadership. So we can already see that these groups are colliding. They're claiming that they're anti-fascist, yet they don't want the diversity of having Palestinians marching with them. But isn't that the entire point of being anti-fascist? The reverse would be for a inclusive society. So why not allow the Palestinians to protest with you against a group which is seen as fascist or anti-Semitic? Yet, if they're anti-Semitic, how are they pro-Israeli? Is Israel not a nation for the Jews? What's going on here? This hypocrisy is playing out very clearly, and now the Palestinians are realizing it in real time as they try and protest. My thoughts is that maybe the ones leading the anti-fascist march are also pro-Israeli. Maybe that's what's actually going on. So they do not like the fact that the Palestinians are joining them, because then they see them as their enemy. It became apparent that we were effectively prohibited from joining the other demonstrators. To facilitate our movement, the only option we had was to register a spontaneous demonstration titled Stop the War in Gaza, said Akar. At the time of the writing, the organizers of the anti-AfD protest had not responded to Al Jazeera's request for comment. Dror Dayan, a German-Israeli filmmaker who is sympathetic to the pro-Palestine movement, said he's not surprised Akar, Ismail, and others were rejected. This is not new, he told Al Jazeera. The mainstream political center doesn't like the far right to be racist against migrants, but doesn't like actually listening to migrants just the same, especially when they doubt Germany's reason of state and show solidarity with Palestine, which is true. Germany's reason of state is to secure the state of Israel. So you're then doubting it. You basically have this narrative that Israel isn't committing a genocide, and that the people who are for that, who are anti-fascists, they're coming to this kind of hypocrisy which they just can't handle. It's very interesting how many different groups are getting played against each other, essentially. It's sad when people protesting genocide are shunned from anti-racism demos by people apparently supporting this genocide, but not new or surprising. Which is funny, because the Palestinians are actually protesting people who are actually getting killed. So they're protesting something, that's actually affecting their friends and family, while protesting the anti-fascists, protesting the fascist AfD, which honestly haven't really done anything. They haven't actually killed anyone, right? They haven't physically done anything, or even put anything in their policies. Who has the higher moral ground here as well? So the episode comes as Germany, one of Israel's strongest European allies, faces increasing allegations of trying to silence pro-Palestinian support. The state has banned some demonstrations in support of Gaza and heavily scrutinized banners during those that are allowed to go ahead. German President Frank-Walter Steinmeier has called on Arabs in this country to distance themselves from Hamas, a comment that was condemned as an example of collective punishment. Last month, a group of artists described Germany's alleged crackdown as McCarthyist, as they launched a boycott of state funding institutions. Looking ahead, further protests against the AFD are expected over the next couple of weeks. Pro-Asyl, a group pro-Asyl, a group that comprises people with migrant backgrounds, will lead a rally on Saturday in Berlin. Its organizers have said all will be welcome at the event, including pro-Palestinian protesters. So it's all very interesting, right? We've got this. What happened to my screen? Now it's showing my NordVPN. Maybe NordVPN should sponsor me. But we got this group essentially showing that, you know, they're pro-freedom as well. They want freedom for Palestine. Yet at the Anti-Fascist march, who you would assume people there would be pro-freedom, actually don't like them whatsoever. And maybe it's because, well, they're pro-Israeli. Or maybe because they're Jews who don't like Palestinians. But anyway, that's it for this one. Hope you enjoyed the video. More to come as per usual. And I'll see you in the next one.